Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to Map Making with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very, very welcome. And it's episode 19, which means we're getting up towards 10 hours of map build. Unbelievable. Now today's episode I thought was going to be a lot more troublesome than it actually was. Didn't take me very long to actually work out or remember how I used to do tunnels. It took me a short while. So what you're seeing now, funny, I know, BonBon doesn't know how to make tunnels, but yeah, it didn't take me long to crack it. So we'll leave that going in the background, and I'll just talk to you about how we're going with the map. So of course, regulars will know what this map is all about. If you're new, it's going to be, hopefully, if everything goes to plan, a map to be used with TPB's Tides mod. I'm doing a lot of the work at the moment on the land, but once I'm happy with the land, I'm going to go out to the sea and do a little bit of little work to the actual sea area, the sea beds. I'm going to have a large area of floodplain, or actually that's not a floodplain at all, is it, what I'm talking about? But tidal areas, basically, that will become like sandbanks and ridges, whatever, that will become, hopefully, if everything works, visible when the tide goes out, and it becomes invisible when the tide comes back in. It's going to be a technical task, but first of all, before we go anywhere near doing with the tides, I think what we need to do is, like I say, get the land fixed. And if the tides doesn't work, or tides don't work, then what I'll do is I'll just refer back to it just being a map for building on, of course, because the tides is just going to be an additional bonus. I've got a few set pieces on this map that if you want to go back and look at previous episodes, like we have the essential lighthouse island, of course, the essential lighthouse island. We have like a half moon shaped island as well, with a lake within, and in the lake is an island, so an island within a lake within an island. So there's that going on, and at the moment we're building the sole highway entrance, the sole outside connection. The map is based on one main island, and then there's a few minor islands, of which only really one of them is going to be for building upon. Yeah, of course you can do what you like, you can build on the mainland if you like, although it's going to be out in the fog with not much going on. And there will be a little bit of building out there, because that's where the rail connection is going to dead end. So if you want a rail connection, if you want freight, then you're going to have to do some building right out in the fog, which means switching off the fog. Thank you very much, Bloody Penguin, for your mod that allows us to do such a technical thing. I can see clearly when the fog is gone, yes. So yes, so that is the cunning plan with that. The map is coming together slowly. The two minor islands are pretty much done. I will be going back to Half Moon Island, doing a little bit more tinkering with that as we get a little bit further along. We've also got another set play is there's a main hill. Some would call it a mountain. It's not. It's just a main hill on this island with some kind of castle going on the top. I haven't finished doing that yet, so that's a little bit more work I'll be coming back to. I'm just checking, make sure the lanes are all running in the right direction. They're not. There's slight problems going on there. Yes, we'll be going back and doing some more work to the castle and that kind of zone in the coming weeks. Also, there's a harbour, and I'm not entirely happy with the harbour. I have had another look at the harbour, and there's only really one part of it I don't like. So it's not going to be the world's biggest job to redo it. I just need to tinker with it just a little bit, and I'll be happier with it as a final piece of work. Of course, these highway connections, we will be coming back and playing with them a little bit more. There's a few things with these I'm not best happy with, and at the end of this particular episode, you'll see me sort of like just plonking things down, because basically I'd run out of my half-hour allotted time for recording this episode had gone, and so I just wanted to get the connections in, even if they weren't perfect. There's nothing wrong with them being imperfect, but I can come back and fix that later. But if you haven't actually got an imperfection connection down, then you've basically you've got to build it from scratch, and then when you build it from scratch and it's imperfect, yeah, at least I'm one step closer. Putting down something that's wrong is better than putting down nothing. I think, maybe. It's better to put down something that's perfect, of course, but of course if that doesn't pan out, then that doesn't pan out, does it? Anyway, the highway's slowly but surely making their way in, and what I'm going to have to do in the next week or so is decide exactly where the highways on the main island are going to come from and go to. Oh, I have lots of fun here with Move It, by the way. Somebody made a comment in last week's episode, one of them, about the Move It Terraform terrain conforming tool, the wiggly line one. Yes, thank you very much. I did know about it, but it's one that had escaped me completely, and if without your comment, actually, I wouldn't have used it. And it only came to me midway through the episode as well, so when you see me struggling again, that is one of me being like dozy and forgetting. It's one of those that I can only really think about one thing at a time, and usually that's food. Let's move those out of the way and do some work over here. So yes, that's what's going on at the moment with the build. We'll be doing some harbour work. I would suggest in the next episode going and tweaking the harbour, and possibly going up to the castle again and doing a little bit more work to the castle, possibly for the next one. I've got to find that particular asset that I'm looking for. It's in an old Watt map, and I've got a list of all the assets reviewed. I just don't recall exactly which one what it was called. So yeah, hundreds and hundreds of assets that I've reviewed. I've got to find the right one and then see if it doesn't work, if it doesn't fit, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it just because I think it's going to work. I want to see what it looks like when it's up there. And it's not even really a castle unit, but it's. I think it might fit with my vision of what's going on at the top of that hill. Right, yes. Now, another thing that I'll be doing, and I don't want to give it away, it's one of the last big secrets about this map. We all know it's a tides map, but it's one of the last big secrets about the map. And this one thing's bugged me, actually. This road, I had it correct last week, and I'm not quite sure why it's all dropped down again. Maybe it's just recently with me moving the bridge a little bit. I don't know. Maybe terraforming has done that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. One of my last secrets, and I think I'm going to have to custom make an asset. Now, I'm not a asset builder, but this one's not a particularly difficult one to do. In fact, what I'll be doing is I'll be taking an existing asset and adjusting it to fit or what I need it for. And to be honest with you, it's not going to take a lot of work to do it. So I might be uploading. I did actually have a look on the workshop to see if somebody else had done the same thing, and I'm surprised that I couldn't find it. I would have thought a little bit with like when our good friend of the channel, Hendrik, made that the essential lighthouse, made it light up. It's actually quite surprising that nobody had done that before. And something very similar that I'm planning to do with an asset, just to make it work for what we'll be using it for in this particular map. And I can't wait to give it a go as well. And there is a second asset I'm looking for the same set play. We're not going to be having. It's not going to be a map with dozens and dozens of assets required. The requirements list is going to be relatively low on this particular map, relatively. But I'm not shying away from adding. Look at this terrain conforming tool, BonBonB. Yeah, get it, sort it out, learn it. Yeah, I'll get there in a moment. I promise you, I do get there in a moment. So anyway, yeah, it's there is going to be. Look at me, it's so funny. Watching myself fail. Promise you, everything does come together by the end of the episode. It really does. It really, 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 really does. Maybe. Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. I'm looking at this. We're nearly 10 hours in. I reckon in the next 7 hours, 6 or 7 hours of build. So what's that? Another say another 6 weeks. I reckon that the map will be recognisable as how it's going to look when it's finished. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense to myself there. Yes. So if you the map's still in build state, yeah, you kind of recognise the island shapes at the moment. But yes, if you were to look at the finished map, yeah, we've got a time machine. We go to the future, we see the finished map. This is what I'm saying. We go to the future, see the finished map. In about 5 weeks' time, I reckon, we'll 5 or 6, we'll be able to take the time machine, see the final map, then come back and go, oh, you were nearly there at that point. And then, of course, you got all the tweaking and the testing and all the underwater stuff will come as well after that. But I reckon a month and a half. What's it? We are now end of August, end of September, October. Yeah, is this map going to be finished by Christmas? I bloody well hope so. I really, really do hope so. It's taken me a lot longer than I thought it was going to. But the difference with Merrickstowe was I was able to sit down and do 3 or 4 hour sessions because I think was What's Map a twice a week show at that point. I think it was every day, but I wasn't doing anything else. There was no chart show, there was no asset world, there was no evening shows and all that sort of stuff. Although the evening shows themselves are they're really easy for me to do because it's just let's play. It's just set a camera recording and play. But yeah, the technicalities of What's Map has definitely increased. Yeah, if you look at the early shows, they are really quite simple, whereas the more recent shows are becoming more and more complex as we go along, which is nice actually. It shows development. It sure does. I'm just checking things over now, seeing if I'm happy with everything. Like a little bit of road, a bridge that's not connecting with the road there, so a little bit of tweaking. This is the point actually now that you'll see me doing some tweaking, and it's still not perfect, but I'm not finishing it because of the time. I can always come back and tweak it a little bit more later on, and I will be, of course, there'll be a lot of map testing. Well, I won't be showing you all of the map testing because that would be boring watching me doing testing, wouldn't it? Maybe. Yeah, of course it might be as a good education for some people to see the amount of time that probably should be spent testing the map, checking the map, seeing if it works, going into the game engine rather than the actual editor. That's essential, guys, absolutely essential. What I'm going to do here is I'm just moving the lanes about a little bit to align them. But what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to align those highways along, because we've got a bit of a gap, a median going on here. I'm probably going to pull those together fully, rebuild those completely. Yeah, just because the bridges come together, and so why would they drift apart? I don't know. So anyway, that is it for today. I know it doesn't look like not much has been achieved, but actually a lot has been achieved there. So the highway connections are actually connected up with the main island. Finally, we are connected to the main island. Right, that's it for today. Join me Wednesday. Should they get another one of these in, another one of these out on Wednesday. Harbour work on Wednesday, yep. And hopefully on top of that hill, building some more castle. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking and subscribing. I've been BonBonB. You've been very, very welcome.